Why are California fires so fierce and so frequent? Reporting by our investigative unit is now leading to government hearings in Washington, D.C. to find out.
Over the past 2 years, senior investigative reporter Bigad Shaban has been digging into what's fueling these historic fires. His reporting caught the attention of a Bay Area congressman.
Well, this all has to do with burned trees and what we choose to do with them after a wildfire. The wrong answer could actually leave California communities at higher risk of being caught in future fires. Here's the problem. The federal government and top scientists across the country can't seem to agree on the solution. The U.S. Forest Service believes burned trees will eventually become fuel for future fires and should be removed and sold off to lumber companies. But a growing number of scientists disagree, arguing dead trees should be left alone, since they can absorb moisture from the soil and actually slow down wildfires. Palo Alto Congressman Ro Khanna, who chairs the House Environment Subcommittee, took note of our reporting and now plans to summon top Forest Service officials and leading scientists to D.C. for a government hearing. He plans to force both sides to develop a comprehensive plan to better protect California. The congressman sat down with us for an exclusive interview. When it comes to developing any kind of consensus relating to post-fire logging and how to best protect California from future wildfires, it frankly seems like the federal government is failing.
It is. Well, your report was very helpful. It triggered us to seek out scientific expertise. We're going to have a hearing on wildfires, and we need to understand the proper policies. Right now, it's a very small group of Beltway insiders that have come up with these plans, and it benefits a lot of commercial industry. And anytime you're going against commercial interests in Washington, it's very, very difficult. But I believe our hearings, which will have the scientists in, which will have the forest management in, will finally help break through the logjam and say we need to have consensus and we need a new approach.
There is a long list of highly educated scientists from all across the country that not only disagree with how the Forest Service responds to wildfires, but they actually think that what the Forest Service is doing is putting people's lives in danger.
They are if you're making the wildfires worse because you're taking down trees and you're increasing the spread and you're increasing the severity, then that is putting, by definition, more people's lives at risk.
But the U.S. Forest Service is frankly convinced what it's doing now and has been doing for the past 100 years is right.
Well, I would say look at the results. I mean, if you're doing something and you have awful consequences and the wildfires are bad and getting worse, you have to have some accountability. I mean, if someone keeps saying we're doing the best we can and the situation gets worse, maybe you want to have a new approach.
Each year, about $45 million of the U.S. Forest Service's budget is funded through commercial logging. Does that need to change?
I think that we need to look at that, absolutely. I mean, that creates a potential conflict of interest. And $45 million in the scheme of the federal budget is not a lot of money. And so if we need to have direct allocation from the federal government to fund that so that there isn't that perceived conflict of interest, let's do that. But that is something we will be exploring in the hearing.
After our original investigation into this issue, you wrote the Forest Service asking them to reduce post-fire logging and rethink its policies. That was 2 years ago. What's happened since, and are you satisfied?
I'm not satisfied. Now, that was during the Trump administration. We have a new administration, so we plan to pursue whether they will take that into consideration under President Biden. They didn't do much with it, candidly, under Trump.
How do you get both sides to come to a consensus?
Well, we finally are going to have the forest management sitting right there under oath, and they're going to hear from scientists who have deep concerns about commercial logging. We will make sure people read your reporting, and we will have this conversation in public in the committee, and then the committee will issue a report on what we think can be done to have a consensus policy. I don't think it's for Congress to choose which scientist is right. But what we can make a push for is that commercial interests aren't dictating this, that all of the scientific perspectives are being considered, and that there is some consensus that emerges.
A date hasn't yet been set for the hearings, but Congressman Khanna hopes to hold them in the early part of the new year, so the federal government has enough time to reevaluate its logging practices before the start of next year's fire season. With the investigative unit, I'm Bigad Shaban.
Bigad, thank you. This impacts so many of our communities. If you have a story for Bigad Shaban or anyone else in our investigative unit, give us a call, 888-996-TIPS, or you can visit our website, nbcbayarea.com/investigations.